Welcome to the AI Analysis Podcast. Imagine walking into a dusty, local thrift store, handing the cashier $2 for this faded, basically worthless college T-shirt, and then turning around and selling it for $100 before you even walk out the front door.
It is wild.
Yeah. So today we are looking at a really fascinating conversation from the Global Kindness Federation podcast. The host, Monty Cook III, sat down with billionaire entrepreneur John Paul DeJoria. And our mission today is to extract the incredibly practical and honestly surprising advice John Paul laid out in that interview.
Yeah, we're covering a lot of ground.
We really are. We were talking about everything from starting a business from scratch with zero capital to taking back control of our attention from our devices and, really understanding why kindness isn't just this nice idea, but a fundamental strategy for business and life.
And to you listening right now, the reason this matters is that whether you are, actively looking for a side hustle to make ends meet, or you're just struggling to get a decent night's sleep.
Oh, for sure.
Or honestly, if you are just feeling a bit cynical about the state of the world right now, this conversation offers actual actionable solutions. And they're coming from a guy who went from literal poverty, literally sleeping in his car, to achieving massive global success.
He is really seeing the entire spectrum of human experience.
Exactly. And because of that, his takeaways are just incredibly grounded.
Grounded is the perfect word, because he starts with something so immediate. Before getting into any, high-level philosophy, he offers a literal blueprint for starting a business today from your own home.
With zero massive bank loans.
Right. So he introduces this platform called Global Ski SKU. And the barrier to entry here is shockingly low.
It's what, like $7?
Yeah, it costs just $7 a month. Okay, let's unpack this because the mechanics of how it works are kind of mind-blowing.
It really is.
It's like having an Antiques Roadshow appraiser in your pocket.
Ugh.
But instead of relying on one guy's memory, this digital appraiser has instantly read the receipt of, every single garage sale and internet auction from the last 10 years to find an exact match.
Yeah, so you just take your phone, find an old item, maybe it's just a clock sitting out in your garage, and you snap a picture of it.
And instantly, the AI identifies what that item sold for brand new, when it was last sold used, and exactly how much it went for.
Right. And then it literally helps you list it directly across multiple online platforms. It just completely removes all that guesswork from pricing and valuation.
So give them that specific example he shared in the interview.
Oh, right. So two guys walked into a thrift store and found some old, used T-shirts. One just said Illinois across it, and another was some old football shirt. And they were priced at $2 each.
$2.
Yeah, $2. And while they were standing right there in the store, they snapped a picture of the shirts and pushed the button on the app. And before they even walked out the door, one of those $2 shirts sold for nearly $100.
$100. But wait, I have to push back a little here.
Go for it.
Does a tool like this truly democratize entrepreneurship? Or is this just, the latest trendy side hustle?
Yeah.
I mean, we hear about these get-rich-quick apps all the time, and usually the market just floods and margins drop to zero.
Yeah, that is a very fair point to raise. What's fascinating here is that the real value isn't necessarily about making a quick $100, though, that's certainly nice.
Right, I wouldn't turn it down.
Exactly. But it's really about removing a massive psychological barrier, because so many people have this internal narrative that business is just too complicated.
Or that they need a business degree.
Or a huge loan to buy inventory, right? This platform shatters that illusion. It proves that you can utilize what is currently discarded. It basically forces a mindset shift where you start looking at your messy closet not as a chore, but as an inventory warehouse.
Wow. Yeah. It completely changes your perspective on what constitutes an asset. You are recognizing value where others just see trash.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Monty actually brought up a parallel concept that relies on this exact same principle of low barrier entry. Microloans.
Oh, right.
He discussed this program rolling out loans as small as $10 to individuals in impoverished areas. $10 just to buy bananas to sell or to buy chicks to raise for eggs.
Hold on, though. Giving a $10 loan with no legal obligation to pay it back to the lender, human nature tells us someone is just going to pocket that money.
You'd think so, yeah.
So how does he prevent the whole system from collapsing on day two?
Well, because the brilliant part of that microloan structure is the social contract. The recipient doesn't pay the loan back to some faceless foreign organization. They are actually required to pay it forward to the next person in their own community who needs it. So when your neighbor is literally waiting on you to succeed so they can get their $10 seed money, The social enforcement is incredibly strong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it creates a self-sustaining ecosystem of entrepreneurship based on mutual reliance rather than, debt to a bank.
So whether it's a $7 app that values a discarded T-shirt or a $10 loan backed by neighborly accountability, the underlying mechanism is basically identical.
It's providing a tiny spark of leverage that empowers someone to take agency over their own economic stimulation.
It is entirely about recognizing the hidden potential right in front of you.
Absolutely.
And speaking of taking something seemingly ordinary and uncovering its incredible hidden value, our analysis today is brought to you by Molly Jewelry US.
You will
In the
not
source
believe
material,
how
there's
this
a
ring
mention of
changes
this
color
truly
right
unique
on your
piece,
hand.
a
Seriously,
lab-grown
by day it's a dreamy
Alexandrite
green,
ring.
and by night,
those are
suddenly
gorgeous.
deep red.
If you haven't seen Alexandrite,
Alexandrite
it is
rarer
practically
than
magic.
diamonds. But with
By
Molly
day,
Jewelry's
it glows
lab
with
stones,
this
I
dreamy
actually got
green
this
color,
magical look
but by
without
night,
dropping a
it literally
fortune.
shifts
The
into a
stone
deep,
totally
rich
stands out,
red.
and you
It's
can pick
basically
your
a
fave shape
transformation stone.
and metal.
Exactly.
It's a lucky
It
little
offers the look of a
transformation
gem
piece,
that is
so
actually
special for
rarer than
gifts or
diamonds,
just yourself.
but without costing
Which
a
cut
fortune
would you
because it's
choose?
lab-grown. Just like finding hidden value in your closet, it's about making the extraordinary accessible.
And it's a stunning, standout piece, whether you are gifting it or treating yourself.
So if you were designing your own magical transformation piece, which cut and metal would you choose? Drop a comment and let us know.
That theme of transformation, of shifting from one state to another, transitions perfectly into the next major theme of John Paul's interview.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Because we just talked about how technology, like AI apps or lab-grown processes, can empower us. But he also issues this stark, almost urgent warning about how technology is simultaneously enslaving us.
He really does not hold back on this. He observes that smartphones and the internet are literally turning human beings into robots.
It's so true.
You get a text, you click a link, and suddenly you're fed a video. But underneath that video are a dozen other videos algorithmically curated to keep your attention.
Right, and instead of communicating with the person who actually texted you, you spend 30 minutes blindly scrolling through content you didn't even ask to see.
He argues that this passive consumption is just destroying the very foundation of human connection.
So to combat this, he offers a very strict piece of advice. He says you need to turn off your phone for at least 2 hours during the middle of the day.
2 hours.
And then strictly turn it off 2 hours before you go to sleep.
Okay, let's get real for a second. Imagine telling the average person listening right now to just turn off their phone for 2 hours in the middle of a Tuesday workday.
They would panic.
The sheer anxiety. People are tethered to these devices for their jobs, for coordinating their kids' schedules, just two-factor authentication to log into their email.
Oh yeah, you literally can't work without it sometimes.
I think most people would experience actual physical withdrawal symptoms. But it highlights this massive irony, right? The very tool that was sold to us as the ultimate way to stay connected is the exact thing isolating us.
It is incredibly difficult to unplug, which is exactly why he argues it's so physiologically necessary. Think about the evening blackout. He specifically cites the harmful effects of blue light on sleep quality.
Yeah, that blue light just wrecks your circadian rhythm.
If you are staring at a screen right up until you close your eyes, you are bathing your retinas in daylight signaling frequencies. But more importantly, you are letting an algorithm dictate the thoughts swirling in your mind as you try to rest.
Right. Your brain needs time to process the day, but we're just stuffing it with novel stimuli until the second we fall asleep.
You aren't giving your nervous system the physiological or psychological space to actually power down.
He paints a really sad but honestly accurate picture of this disconnection out in the real world. He talks about seeing couples sitting across from each other at a restaurant table.
Oh, I see this all the time.
Or teenagers sitting just 5 feet apart on a couch, entirely silent, just texting. Sometimes they're even texting each other. They aren't looking each other in the eye. They aren't, as he puts it, feeling the vibe.
And this raises an important question, right? What is the actual cost of losing that vibe?
Yeah.
John Paul told a story about a meeting he had with the Dalai Lama 28 years ago.
Oh, this was wild.
Just the two of them sitting in a room discussing how to bring peace to the world. And they distilled it down to a single word: dialogue.
Dialogue. Not texting, not commenting, not leaving a voice memo, but face-to-face, uninterrupted dialogue.
What's fascinating here is the fundamental difference between texting and true dialogue. It's massive. Texting is controlled. It's safe.
Yeah, you can edit your response.
Exactly. You can delay your reply for 3 hours to seem less eager. You can hide your tone behind an emoji. But true dialogue requires presence. It requires vulnerability.
You actually have to look the other person in the eye.
You have to listen without interrupting, read their micro-expressions, and react in real time. Algorithms intentionally disrupt that presence because vulnerability doesn't keep you scrolling. Outrage and distraction do.
So dialogue is the antidote to the robot era because it forces us back into our humanity.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean when you scale it up? If true dialogue and connection are the baseline, John Paul takes that philosophy and applies it on a massive global scale, which brings us to the core thesis of his entire worldview.
And it's actually the title of his upcoming book, Success Unshared is Failure.
It's a provocative title, and he grounds it in an incredibly emotional anchor story from his own childhood. Back in 1950, when John Paul was just 6 years old, his family was living in downtown Los Angeles.
And they were dirt poor.
Right. And it's Christmas time. His mother gives him and his brother half a dime each, 10 cents total.
And back in 1950, 10 cents could buy like 2 sodas or 3 candy bars.
That was serious currency to a 6-year-old. But she didn't tell them to buy candy. She told them to go put those 2 halves of a dime into the Salvation Army bucket.
And when they asked her why they were giving away what little money they had, her lesson was profound. She said, no matter how little you have, no matter your circumstances, there is always someone out there who needs it more.
That moment clearly defined the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Because now that he has vast resources, he isn't just, dropping dimes in a bucket. He is engineering massive structural kindness.
Let's look at the mechanics of the initiatives discussed in the interview, starting with Food for Africa.
Right.
He partnered with a group that created this incredible vitamin-rich oatmeal maize. It contains literally every mineral and vitamin a growing child needs in a single daily meal. And they have been feeding an average of 17,000 children every single day.
And the economics of this are just staggering. They did a 3-month trial in a village of 500 people. After 3 months, malnutrition was practically eradicated.
It's amazing.
And the cost to produce this life-saving meal, 8 cents, just 8 cents a meal. It was so effective that the World Food Organization stepped in after witnessing the trial, and they are now scaling this facility to produce 20 million meals a day across Africa.
20 million.
But how do you even get the cost down to 8 cents?
By stripping away the bureaucratic overhead and focusing on local sourcing and highly concentrated nutritional science, it's a perfect example of scaling a solution. But, it doesn't stop at food. He also detailed his work with water infrastructure.
The Mali Boreholes Project.
Yes. Mali is one of the poorest countries in the world, and villagers were walking miles just to get a single muddy container of water.
And when you only have one container of water for your entire family, you have a brutal choice to make every single day. Do you drink it, cook with it, bathe in it, or plant with it?
There's never enough to do all 4.
Right. So his team bought a used drilling machine and started traveling from village to village, drilling wells, what they call boreholes.
And suddenly, these villages have abundant water. Within 6 months, they can bathe, they have drinking water, and crucially, they can grow their own vegetables. They become entirely self-sufficient.
And Monty noted that his own organization is tying into this by providing free boreholes to villages that form local WhatsApp ambassador groups.
Yeah.
Which sounds great, but again, how does a WhatsApp group keep a mechanical well running in a remote village?
Well, the WhatsApp groups act as decentralized local governments. In the past, if a well broke, a village would have to wait months for a foreign NGO to send someone to fix it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Now, the village ambassadors text each other, pool a few cents from their new agricultural profits, and hire a local mechanic to fix the pump immediately.
The technology isn't the savior. It's the organizational tool that allows community reliance to flourish.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. It's one thing to provide food and water to people in developing nations, but John Paul brings this exact same philosophy to the United States with a project called Mobile Loaves and Fishes.
Yeah, this one is incredible.
They built a community of 200 small homes for the homeless. They provided organic gardens so the residents could eat for free. But he didn't stop at providing shelter and food. He built an entrepreneur center right there in the homeless community.
He built a wood shop, a metal shop, a welding facility, and a ceramic studio.
Which brings up a massive question. Who is buying a welded table from a homeless camp? And how do people living on the streets suddenly know how to run a metal shop?
People pushed back on him for this.
I'm sure they did, saying, why are you building a welding shop? They just need a place to sleep. There is this societal contradiction where we assume someone experiencing homelessness only needs or only deserves a basic handout.
Right.
We completely forget that they have talents, skills, and the capacity to create.
Right. And to answer your question, the community provides training and they overcome the logistical hurdles by selling their goods at local markets or online. And the results completely destroyed that societal assumption you just mentioned.
What happened?
In just 18 months, the residents of this community used that entrepreneur center to create and sell over $200,000 worth of goods.
$200,000. That completely shifts them from being dependent consumers to active producers.
And if we synthesize everything we've talked about today, from the Global CU app to the microloans,
Right.
from the decentralized boreholes to the welding shop, a very clear core theme emerges. John Paul DeJoria isn't just giving away money. He is giving away agency.
He's giving them the tools to write their own future.
Exactly. And he ties us back to a concept he calls kind energy. He firmly believes that when you do something for someone else with zero expectation of a reward, when you are just putting positive, kind energy out into the universe, it is the ultimate high.
Oh, love that.
He even joked that there was nothing you could smoke in the 1960s that would get you higher than the feeling of helping someone and asking for absolutely nothing in return.
That's hilarious.
And paradoxically, that energy organically attracts success back to you.
So let's recap the vital lessons we've extracted for you today, because there is a lot to process, and it's all highly actionable. First, don't let the illusion of complexity stop you from creating value. Clean out your closet. Use tools like AI to recognize the value in what you already have and start that business.
Definitely.
Second, reclaim your humanity from the algorithm. Enforce a 2-hour phone blackout during your day to engage in actual face-to-face dialogue. And turn the screens off 2 hours before bed to give your nervous system a fighting chance at rest.
So important.
And finally, remember the ultimate rule. Any success you achieve must be shared.
To frame that final point, the interview touched on two incredibly powerful quotes. Leo Tolstoy observed that respect was invented to cover the empty place where love should be.
Wow.
And Pythagoras advised that above all things, respect yourself. True self-respect, in the context of everything we've discussed today, comes from knowing you are an active, positive force in the world, not just a passive consumer of it.
So we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today. If success unshared is truly a failure, take a look at your own life right now. What is a talent, a resource, or even just an hour of your time that you are currently hoarding that could completely change someone else's reality tomorrow?